What is up, Jags fans? We are here. We are live. We are celebrating another win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is your first show with us. I'm so glad that you're here. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you get notifications whenever we go live. We typically do shows Tuesday and Friday nights, but since we won, we have a victory Monday. We're doing a special show here tonight. Tomorrow night, we will be doing our film breakdown from Week 14. I already have my clips saved and stored, but I'm a man of my word, and we do film breakdowns on Tuesday nights. Tonight is about just celebrating the Jags win over the division rival, the Titans. Before we go any further, make sure to follow the Instagram and the Twitter. That's where I like to communicate with everybody and talk with other Jags fans. It's a lot of good time. And also, if you haven't heard the news, we are now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and these shows go straight to podcasts now. So if you like to listen to podcasts or you don't like to have YouTube open and want to listen to this show anytime you miss it, we will be, you can search us up, Jaguars United, and we're also a podcast. So look forward to that. Glad that you guys are here talking about the Titans. Man, I figured the chat would be popping tonight, so I'm going to try to get to as many comments as I can tonight. If I miss it, just type it again. I have a feeling there's going to be some people ready to get in tonight. So the first one in, though, Sea Breacher. First one in. Shout out to Sea Breacher, man. He says Tyson Campbell is him. We're about to look at the PFF grades here in a second, but, man, Tyson Campbell looks like the real deal. I don't know if Tennessee necessarily has all the weapons in the world with Treylon Burks being out. But, hey, listen, someone's got to cover Chris Conley, right? And so I'm glad Tyson Campbell could do it. Predator says, it is known. Good to see you, Predator, in the chat. DJM is a comment in the chat, says Jason Sun. Robert Atzert says, no Titans trolls tonight. Let's go. I was perusing the Titans subreddit today. And man, are they upset. They want nothing to do with Todd Monken. They want nothing to do with that. They just want someone else calling plays. And I got to admit, the play calling was a little vanilla, a little bland. I mean, listen, they look good in the first quarter now. You can't totally discount them in the first quarter. What was it? Derrick Henry had like almost 100 yards. He had 96 yards in the first quarter. We gave up 96 yards rushing to Derrick Henry in the first quarter. I was like worried, boys. I was like, you know what? I mean, the first play of the game, the Titans came out and ran a flea flicker. Like, luckily, Tyson Campbell was there, but on that first drive, I mean, the Titans marched down the field, a nice, sound drive, and Derrick Henry runs on a touchdown run, and they go up 7-0. And I was like, oh, boy, here we go. I was a little worried about the defense to start. I'm not going to lie. But we all know the end how that story goes. Nolly Full Cap is a channel member, and he's here spamming emojis. So if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to watch the shows on replay. If you have some time, the shows always go up, and the channel members are in here in full force. Appreciate it. DJM in the comments says he called it. Oh, good call, DJ. Joseph Drawbond says, happy Monday. Happy Monday, Joseph. Man, it's just so much better day after a Jags win. And especially like the last couple wins that they've had where they've been like dismantling teams. You know, the Lions game kind of made us have a little bit of a hesitation and reservation about what we thought about the team. But, man, the Jags are kind of clicking right now. They really are. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is just it, man. He's been the throws. I cannot wait for the film breakdown tomorrow because the throws that he made just with complete confidence. I think Taylor Lewan, I saw right before the show started, tweeted, Trevor Lawrence is in flow right now. Just saying, like, the dude can't miss. He's on fire. Absolutely unbelievable performance out of Trevor Lawrence. Super excited. Zach is whack comments, yo, 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 what is up, fellas? Trevor has arrived. I think you're right. I think he has. Nolly says, yeah, I think we're going to need the Celebrate song. We got to watch out so we won't get put in YouTube jail. Nolly. Base Mover is in the comments. He's also a channel member. He says, we still have the Texans, which we still haven't beaten yet. I mean, this just seems like a great time to just beat the Texans. That way we'll have beaten all of our divisional rivals at least once this season. We have a chance, boys. I think I saw we're just under a 20% chance of winning the division and making the playoffs. Look, we talked about playing competitive, meaningful football in December all year. It's all we wanted. It's all we wanted when Urban Meyer was here. It's all we wanted when Doug Peterson was here. I quite frankly don't care who the coach is. I don't care who the GM is. I just want to be in playoff contention in December. It's all I want. So did Trent Baalke backdoor his way into a playoff berth potentially because of Trevor? Maybe. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be definitely interesting to see. Jeff Singer says, woohoo, I made it. Start of something special. Jags going on a tear and taking the division in week 18. Like I said, it could line up perfectly for that situation. So, with Gator in your name, I see why. Go Dogs. Gators. Talking about Gators and dogs, huh? William says, Victory Monday, baby. That's it, man. That's it. The hit stick. This is from Edgardo Silva. Says the hit stick that Shaq Quarterman put on Derrick Henry was so tasty for a turnover. That was a beautiful hit from Shaq Quarterman. And I gotta give credit to someone on Twitter said that was some Duval on Duval crime right there. Because although Derrick Henry is technically from Yulee, we like to claim him as Duval. Laid the wood for sure. KCG says next year, Monday night or Sunday night game here, we come. Games come on early in Hawaii, so be nice to have some afternoon games. Oh, yeah, I forgot Casey's in Hawaii. Yeah, man, I hope you were, Casey. Casey and me, we get it. Been fans for a long time, so we're happy to see it. C. Breacher says, can we put Frank Gore into the Pride? DTWD says, that was a weak call on that Agnew kickoff return. That was a touchdown. Yeah, it really was. I mean, that was a bad call. I don't think the NFL wants to see kickoffs at all. So anytime there's a successful kickoff, I feel like they're New York, wherever they're at, it's in their ear saying, hey, call this thing back. Because they don't want kickoffs. They want kickoffs out of the game. To be fair, there's a lot of injuries on kickoffs, so I get it. As a fan, when something like what happens with Jamal Agnew, it's disappointing to see. But, yeah, I think the NFL's trying to get kickoffs out of the game for sure. How cool was it for the ball to land right into Josh Allen's hands? Yeah, no, that was very coincidental, and I liked that. It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. All right, listening to the podcast, we're going to take a peek over to the PFF grades because I like to look at the PFF grades. It tells me a lot about snap counts and how they played in certain aspects of the game. So we're looking at the offense's grades first. I always say this every week. You want your quarterback to be your highest rated player. Trevor Lawrence comes in with a 92.6 offensive grade on the 72 total offensive snaps that the Jags had. He played pretty well in all of the he's just played. I mean, I can't wait for the film. I'm going to kind of save my Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram love for tomorrow because I feel like I'm going to say Lawrence and Ingram 100 times tomorrow night on the show because, wow, what a display those two put on. An absolute they both probably played the best games of their life, if I'm not mistaken. So that works out pretty well. Evan Ingram, no doubt, the second player rated 92.5, coming in just 1/10 of a number grade below Trevor Lawrence. So those two guys obviously stole the show. I'm watching a little bit of this football game, this Patriots-Cardinals game. If you're watching this back or listening to the podcast, the Patriots and the Cardinals game's on live, and I'm watching it as I'm doing the show, so hopefully it doesn't distract too much. Jamal Agnew, everyone loves Jamal Agnew. The kickoff return was great. We all want to see that happen. Even the plays that he's gotten involved in, he's been good. 7 pass plays, 3 run block plays, and then 1 handoff. So a total of 11 plays, and he made the most of his snaps, and that's all you can ask for with a guy like Jamal Agnew is making the most out of his snaps, and he did it. Luke Farrell, another guy with only 11 snaps, made the most of his snaps as well. An 80.9 grade for Luke Farrell. Does Agnew and Farrell deserve more snaps, or are their grades so high because they're getting limited snaps, like that 6th man coming off the bench? I don't know. It's a good question to ask yourself. I'm going to get back to the comments right after we give one little more shout out to the number 5 graded player on the offense, left tackle Cam Robinson. Now, I spent most of the last show talking about how disappointed I was in Cam Robinson and how his contract's killing us and how Him taking up 10.1% of the salary cap for our team in 2023 is going to be a detriment to this team. I said all those things, and I wasn't the only one. So Cam Robinson must have heard us, and he turns in a great performance. A great performance, a 77.9 grade, an 84.9 pass blocking grade. Now, I know Danico Autry was out, Harold Landry was out, so I know it wasn't quite the same as like the standard Titans team, but still, Mike Vrabel is going to have this team ready to play and rush the passer, and you got to give Cam Robinson credit. He played a good game. We saw the Titans try to play without a left tackle, and we saw, they were just dogging the offensive line on the Titans subreddit. It was horrible. I'm gonna get back to these PFF grades in a second. I want to hit a couple comments so I don't get too far behind. DJM says we're gonna be on Hard Knocks next season. Isn't there something about if you make the playoffs, you don't have to be on it? I don't know. Jeff Singer in the comments says the best part of the game to me was Trevor's presence on that move in the pocket where he sheds the defender without even looking at him. Yeah, so obviously I have that play queued up. That was my favorite play from the game. If you go look at my Twitter, Jeff, I actually posted that today saying I thought that was Trevor Lawrence's best play of the game. So we're on the same page there, Jeff. Cody Jackson says, yo, I can't believe we're still in the hunt, man. What a turnaround for Trevor and the whole team. Yeah, so now we're just looking for some consistency, right? Good teams are consistent. I say that almost every show. Good teams are consistent. So we need to start being consistent. We need to start connecting the dots between playing well and playing well every week. So we'll see what happens. Legend says, the best part of Trevor's performance versus Tennessee is that he also graded out fantastic under the pressure and against the blitz. I like that. We have some more of like his passing. We have, for those listening to the podcast, ex post facto, we're showing a breakdown of Trevor Lawrence and like the play grid and how he did. And he doesn't have a grid anywhere where he was under, 80%. Inside 10 yards to the right side of the field, he was 2 for 5. I think he had a drop there. Everywhere else, man, he was just great. Look at the deep ball. He was 50% on throws 20 and more. That's what you want. He was 100% on passes between 10 and 20 yards. 100% in the medium. That is what you want from your quarterback. That's outstanding. That's how you make things happen. So shout out to Trevor. Can we look at if it was when he was pressured? No, that's it. So we'll finish up some of these PFF grades. Juwan Taylor, a 76 grade, 75 passing grade. Not great, not terrible. I think I don't know what to do with his contract. I think he walks, unfortunately. Love the guy to death, but I don't know if we can afford to pay him. He might be a cap casualty. Maybe, there's a way we can, but I feel like on the open market, he's going to get good money. T-Shat, stepping up as always. Your Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee always. Zay Jones, I thought had a great game. People are going to point to the drop he had in the end zone on that seam route that Trevor threw, but I think all in all, Zay Jones had a pretty good game. Happy with the way that he played. If you look at the bottom, we have at the bottom Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, ETN, and Christian Kirk. So don't love seeing those guys at the bottom of the PFF grades. But to be fair, Fortner and Sheriff had big penalties that killed drives. And ETN just never got it going. Listen, the Titans were third in the league during this game against the run. Only giving up 83 yards a game. They were 31st, almost dead last against the pass. And so, obviously, the Jags coaches knew that, and the game plan was to pass the ball, not to run the ball. Much like the Patriots doing right now, as they just ran the ball into the end zone. So, I thought the offensive game plan was pretty good. Obviously, they scored a lot of points, so can't complain about that. Predator says, I wish Farrell would get more snaps. He's the only tight end we got going into next year secured, but he hopes that Ingram continues to pop off. Yeah, listen, Luke Farrell might be a guy who does kind of launch into that Dan Arnold role next year. Do you have to draft a tight end? Do you try to get Ingram on a... if Ingram has a couple more games like he had last week, we're not going to be able to afford him. We could franchise tag him. So right now he's getting like I think 9 or 10 million, and the franchise tag would be around 13, 14 million. So that is a consideration if you think you're trying to contend. You could also franchise tag Juwan Taylor, but that would be super expensive. I think that's about all you're looking for in those situations. So I think it comes down to Juwan or Evan Ingram. Sea Breezer, how do you think Darius Williams played on the outside this week? I don't think he graded out particularly well. We're going to get to the defensive PFF grades here in a second. He hasn't been as good as I thought he was going to be, but you know what? That's okay. He's better than Shaq Griffin was. He's playing better than, a lot of coverage mistakes we've had in the past at safety. So, I don't know. Is he better in the nickel? Is he better on the outside? Tannehill didn't really try us down the field too much. I mean, they ran the ball a lot. The last couple teams we've played, the Lions, the Ravens, and the Titans, they're all like run heavy teams. So it's hard to evaluate the defensive backs in coverage. You can see guys like Tyson Campbell play really well, but it's hard just to get a fair evaluation because these teams are run heavy teams. They really are. Legend says, I think if you scroll down on the pressure and depth, it shows his grades under pressure versus the blitz. I'll have to take a look at that in a second, Legend. Sea Breacher asks in the comments, how does a franchise tag work? Is it like in the NBA with the mid-level exception where they go over the cap to re-sign a player? So the NBA and the MLB are unlike the NFL. So you're allowed to go over the cap in those sports, and you have to pay what's called a luxury tax. So basically the owner has to pay a tax to the league, a certain percentage of whatever he spends over the cap. So you are allowed to go over the cap in those sports, but the owner has to pay a fee to the league. In the NFL, you cannot. It's a hard cap. You cannot go over the salary cap. So what happens is they take the top 5 pay at that position, and they average it together, and that's what the cost of a franchise tag is. So the top 5 left tackles, the top 5 tight ends. Now, we've had issues in the past with guys like Kelsey and these tight ends that have been really good. They're getting tight end top 5 average money when in reality they're receivers. So should they be getting receiver top 5 money? And obviously it's a big difference. So there's been some debate there with the franchise tag. But Chris Mason in the comments says, Detroit is a top team. They are playing really well. Jags Nation says, hey, bro, read my last comment. All right, Jags, I got to go find it. I didn't see it. Okay, Jags Nation says, is Trayvon making the turn? I think he had a 91 PFF grade. He needs to keep playing in the stands because he played very good, and you can tell the defense thrives off his play. It definitely seems like he is. I mean, if you look at the sack Arden Key got was forced by his pressure. He even played well in coverage and dropping to his zone and made some tackles in open space. So I think he is coming along nicely. I don't know if he's quite made the turn yet, but it was refreshing to see him have a good game. It really was. And he needed that. We needed that. Bulky needed that. I mean, we want to see him keep progressing. We want to see him keep getting better because, like you pointed out, he's making everyone better on that defensive line. I mean, Josh Allen got a clean-up sack. Who was the interior guy? Fatu Kasi got pretty much a clean-up sack from a collapsed pocket. So you're definitely seeing benefits all across the line when a guy like him can get pressure. And yes, what we said since the day, and we all said this, we were all here together, we were all talking about it the day Trevon Walker was drafted. We all watched his highlight film at Georgia and noticed a pattern of him being in a 3-point stance. And then the Jags saying they're going to line him up in 2 points. So I don't think the experiment worked. I don't think that necessarily means he could never do that again, but why not put him in a position to be successful? He was a very humble guy. He was willing to learn and try things, and I respect that a lot about Trevon Walker, but I think he'd be happy to be back in his natural position because he's used the word like natural position a lot in interviews, which leads me to think that he thinks about it for sure. Good comment, Jags Nation. Chris Mason in the comments says, will Balky foul up acquiring Nathan Rourke, backup quarterback Jags? I don't know what happened with that. I mean, they were worried about Trevor being injured, but Trevor never gets injured. So Predator says, random side thought. These are my favorite. Are you worried about the team in a few years when Trevor's contract is up? We had all the money in the world now. We face cap issues going into his 3rd year. I mean, there's definitely no secret when a quarterback is on their rookie deal, meaning the first 5 years of their contract. That's when you need to maximize your window to win a Super Bowl. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but it definitely is a recipe for success. So we still have 2 more years of Trevor. We could tag him, and so really 3 more years. So we really have options with Trevor, but he's one of the very few guys that I would not even hesitate to pay at all. Give him whatever it takes. Top quarterback money. I mean, he's that guy. He is. We've seen it now. He's making unbelievable throws. His pocket awareness has been elite. Maybe not holding on to the football, but like he does sense pressure better than most quarterbacks. He's stepping up into the pocket. He's confidently throwing the ball, man. When we watch these plays tomorrow on the film breakdown, you're gonna see some really tight windows that Trevor just like threw it in there and like had no doubts, just went for it. Very impressive. I mean, when people like Taylor Lewan are making positive comments about your quarterback, it's a good sign. I mean, people are about to jump on this Trevor bandwagon really, really quick. Really, really quick. DJM says, what's your prediction for the Cowboys game? I think it's a close game. The Cowboys record at 10-3 is pretty impressive. I don't think their wins are that substantial. I don't think they're that much better than the Jags on the road. I think this game could come down to a coin flip. Depends on which Jags defense shows up. The defense that we saw against the Ravens and the Titans, or is it going to be the defense we saw against the Lions? So hopefully at home we get a little boost from the home crowd, even though it could be more Cowboys fans because Cowboys fans travel insanely well. And don't take it personally. I'm not talking about the game because I might sneak myself into the game just because I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss the Cowboys game, so I might sneak into the game and don't be discouraged if it's all Cowboys fans there because they travel well and almost every single field they go to, they kind of try to take over. Is Trayvon playing Sunday? I think so. Do you have the play where Trayvon got hurt? What play was that at the end? I missed that. Sorry. Trevor Augustus says, I like seeing Trevor chirp back at defense, talking smack too. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, that part of Trevor was nice. It was good to see that part of Trevor for sure. Israel Otero, that throw to Jones in the end zone was a thing of beauty. It was. Chris Mason predicts the score to be Jags 30, Cowboys 24. I like that. Nolly full cap. Jason, don't go to the game. You'll make us lose. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything either way. All right. I'm not going to say anything. One of my buddies is really trying to get me to go with him. Alvin Jackson. Trayvon production was a little bit low because he got held a lot and the offense shifted to him away from Allen. That's a good point, Alvin. Very good point, Alvin. I did notice that. He was getting double teamed a lot and held a lot. Both of those were very, very good points. Absolutely. That I was very surprised. I mean, they were chipping him with a tight end, left tackle. I mean, they were really putting a focused effort on Travon Walker. You're right. I think that kind of flew under the radar a little bit. Chris Mason says Judon is a stud. Yeah, he is. Redjet 206. If we have only one player in the Pro Bowl at the end of the year, who do you think it'll be? My guess is Trevor, but Tyson is already a top 10 corner in my opinion. So I think Tyson Campbell has to be the number one player, only because there is a premium at cornerback. There's 2 on the field at all times, and Tyson legitimately is a top 3 corner. Trevor is a top quarterback, but it's quarterback in the Pro Bowl is all like a celebrity type situation. So I think next year is a better chance at that, but definitely Tyson Campbell. I think you could see Christian Kirk, if a couple receivers drop out, and you got to fill that roster with some people. He's a top 10 receiver in the league. So a couple receivers get hurt, a couple drop out because they're, whatever. I don't know. CF Coasters says, do you see how expensive the tickets are for the Cowboys game? Way more than usual. Yeah, someone sent me a picture, and I think it was like 180. But that's why I have free tickets, so it's hard for me to turn that game down. But yeah, listen, a lot of season ticket holders sold that ticket, to pay for a lot of for the other ones. DJM asks, what needs to happen in order for the Jags to win the division? So like in like practicum, they have to beat the Titans twice and Houston once. And Titans have to lose 2, and I think they have to lose 1 more game on top of that. So, 20% chance. They need to keep playing the way they're playing. That's for sure. Ingram is a stud. Yeah. What do you think was the reason for the Jags defense stepping up? I honestly can't find a valid reason, asks Jags Nation. So after watching the film a couple times, and I was able to watch this film a couple times because I had some time today. The Cardinals are about to score there. The Titans' offensive line played putrid. I mean, the Jaguars are not known for being able to get pressure on quarterbacks or forcing turnovers, and they were able to do both of those things. So getting pressure on an offensive line that was pretty depleted. Ryan Tannehill isn't what he used to be. I was worried he was going to get outside the pocket and scramble on us. He didn't even do that one time, I don't think. The receivers, were hurt. They had their number one receiver had just gotten hurt the week before in Philadelphia. That doesn't help for that to happen. Chris Conley was out there playing. Jeff Swaim's out there playing. Like guys that we've recycled were out there trying to make plays. So if those guys couldn't make it on our squad, I highly doubt DeAndre Hopkins just made an amazing one-handed catch out of bounds. That was insane. Trevor is an all-pro in my book, says Chris. Chef Florida Boy says, hey, I made the stream. How about them Jaguars? Let's put up the defensive grades here. Okay. Another guy who I think was listening. Roy Robertson Harris. I mean, how many times did I cut this guy when we were talking about contracts? I mean, he didn't even get a chance at the roster next year, and I'm out here cutting him. 37 defensive snaps, graded out of 92.1. So that's about half of the available snaps. I mean, it's looking like guys like Rayshawn Jenkins and Tyson Campbell played in 67 snaps. Devin Lloyd also 67 snaps. Aluakon. So that seems like the max there. So about half of them Roy Robertson Harris played in, and he played well in those situations. 92.1. Shout out to him. Shaq Quarterman, another guy who made the most out of his 3 snaps. I mean, 30 snaps, and he forces a fumble. I love it. Tyson Campbell is a dog. We all know that. Juwan Walker had a great game. How about Kalavon Chazon making the most of his 8 snaps? A 75.4 grade. Look at that, man. Dewey Wingard. It's become a fan favorite so quickly. Another guy. Dewey, Quarterman, Roy Robertson Harris, Kalavon. All these guys, had pretty much out the door, and they're out here doing the most with their few snaps. So shout out to them. Dewey Wingard with a 70.2 grade on 59 total snaps. Is it just me, or has the defense been playing better with Wingard in the game? And the thing is Cisco is better than Wingard, but is there a way you can get all these guys on the field? I don't know. Arden Key with a 70.1 grade on 33 snaps. Josh Allen with a 67.2 grade. A pretty bad tackling grade from Josh Allen, unfortunately, a 41.0. I mean, you got to think if Josh Allen doesn't have that sack, what is his grade? And it's not fair because you could say that about anybody, but I'm gonna call out Josh Allen on this week's preview show because it seems like anytime I call a player out, they go on to have a great game the week after. So maybe that'll be our game plan going in. Fatu Kasi, another guy with a sack. Aluakon, who I thought flew all over the field, comes in with a 61.8 grade. And then if we look down at the bottom of this list, bringing up the rear starters are Devin Lloyd. Ooh, that's the wrong one there. Devin Lloyd, Darius Williams, Rayshawn Jenkins, all toward the bottom of the list with 60 grade or lower. Devin Lloyd comes in with a 49 grade. So I don't think Devin Lloyd played terrible. In fact, his tackling grade was an 83.1, and that's kind of what we need him to be as a tackler. But when you're that off-ball linebacker like he wants to be, you have to be able to cover, and his coverage grade was a 57.1, and he had 48 of his snaps. So 3/4 of his snaps were in coverage, and he wasn't amazing. But it's hard, man. It's not. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's easy because I think he can still get better and improve, and I'm looking forward to it. Sea Breacher says Wingard went full speed at Derrick Henry's, leading with his shoulder. That's when he was injured earlier in the game. He's a straight up dog. Yeah, he tried to tackle him low, and he did get hurt. I was kind of bummed to see him get hurt, but glad that he came back. Because I like Dewey. I do. Predator. Shout out to Dewey. I low-key hope he gets re-signed. They were talking about on the radio. This dude has survived a lot of coaching changes here in Jacksonville. So something about him the coaches like. Elliot Crabtree in the chat says T-Law is literally a god. He is very good. Ben Haney says Trevor Lawrence has reignited this rivalry. Oh, man, that end of the game when he was pointing, he was waving. That's a Trevor. I didn't know Trevor had that side in him. Like I talked about on the last show. Trevor was a candidate to me, one of these Andrew Luck type guys that things were more important to him in life than football. And I respect and appreciate that. But the thing with those types of people is a lot of times they retire early, and I don't blame them at all. But a lot of times they say, you know what, I have more to life than just, he's a man of faith and convictions. And so a lot of times those guys just, football isn't everything to them. And I hope that's not him. Didn't think he had this in him. I know nothing about Trevor. Again, I'm just totally speculating. He could love football and he could play till he's Tom Brady's age. I have no clue. It's just my observations. T-Law is the next coming of Jesus Christ himself. I don't think T-Law would admit that or agree to that. Legend asks, is Trayvon a better fit in a 4-3? I don't necessarily think so. I don't think there's as big a difference in 4-3 and 3-4 as a lot of people think. The biggest difference is basically like your interior D lineman, like your nose tackle / nose guard. In a 3-4 is like a 2-gapper, whereas in a 4-3, both of your interior D linemen aren't 2-gappers typically. So besides that one little change, if you can rush off the edge, you can rush off the edge. If you can get pressure from the 5 technique or the 7 technique, you can get pressure from there regardless of the scheme or the front. I think it's more about who you have around you. Playing as a unit. Arden Key in an interview with Hayes Carline today talked about how they were like playing as a unit. And like really it's what you have to have. You have to have all 4 guys playing together. A lot of sacks are caused by the guy next to you. So you got to be working together. You got to be really getting pressure, but you got to have your head on your shoulders, man. The modern NFL, they're dropping screens behind you, draw plays behind you. They want you to get upfield. They bait you upfield so they can throw it behind you. It's tough, man. There's a reason why D linemen have become like the top players in the draft as far as getting drafted. You have quarterbacks, tackles, and then D linemen now, and that's / edge rushers. That's like the hierarchy of these guys. Corners are in there too, but they're kind of falling out. I think got to have a good head on your shoulders to play. Elliot Crabtree says, I can't wait for that Cowboys game. Trevor Lawrence is going to go off on that one as well. That would be great. That would be great to see, especially at home in front of his home crowd. He needs a game like that against a good team at home and just delivering like, a performance like he did last week. UCF Jaguar in the chat. What's up, UCF? Appreciate it. UCF's awesome. I loved his show yesterday during the show, his live show. Every game is Trevor's new best game. That's a good sign, UCF. That's a good sign. That is what you want from a quarterback. Predator, dang, that's tough. As of now, I'd have to go Parsons. Trevon could be the next Aldon Smith, though. Chris Mason says the Jags are trending up. All right. Captain Fullpo Fishing says, any status on Trayvon Walker's injury? I haven't seen anything. I didn't even see now I think about it, I did see the play, but I haven't seen anything. RedJet206 in the comments says, Josh Allen got a sack for the first time since week 4 at Philadelphia. He's the pressure's king, but we can't give top tier money to someone that can't consistently produce sacks. Yeah, I was looking at, even in that I was watching the Raiders and the guy like Max Crosby or a guy like Bosa. Those guys are just disgusting off the edge. They're unblockable. They just come off the edge and, Von Miller-esque type players, and they're just unblocked. They get to the edge with speed, with power. They can do it all. Definitely want to see more production. And maybe Josh Allen turns it on. Hey, maybe he has the best 4 games of his life coming up, and he proves us all wrong. Who are we playing in the playoffs, says Ben Haney. At home versus the Ravens or on the road in Kansas City? If we sneak in, I think, didn't they change the rules where it's not about, I don't know about, they changed some rules recently about home field and division. I have to look it up. T-Law is about to lead us all the way to the Super Bowl. Just watch. Hey, I'm here for it, man. That's what happened to the Jags in 1996. I was a little young, but apparently that's what happened, so I believe it. Chris Mason says he loves UCF Jaguar. We all love UCF Jaguar. We all love him. DJ M says, remember when Jets fans said Zach Wilson was better than Trevor Lawrence? Listen, it's hard to evaluate quarterbacks, man. It really is. Trevor Lawrence was was probably the biggest no-brainer in football of all time. I'm trying to I've been evaluating college and pro football players for a long time. And my biggest whiffs, I whiffed hard on Jameis Winston. I thought Jameis Winston was going to come in and be a star. I thought he had everything. I get the reservations about his ability to read defenses or make quick decisions, but I saw him at FSU do that under Jimbo Fisher. So I thought he'd be able to translate with a good coach in the NFL and do it. And he's been not terrible, but he hasn't been as good as I thought he was going to be. He was probably one of the bigger ones I missed on. I would have taken him first overall as well. I liked Kyler Murray coming out number 1. I wasn't huge on Baker Mayfield, but Trevor Lawrence was a no-brainer more than any of those guys. I mean, he was Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. He was all these guys that were just clear fire number 1 picks. And when we tanked and we won and we got him that year, one of the greatest years of my life, just knowing we were going to get Trevor. And it's coming to fruition. He's everything that we wanted him to be, and he's everything that we hoped that he would be. Red Jet says, pretty sure Jets fans were lying to themselves. I mean, we all lie to ourselves to a bit there, Red Jet. Jags Nation says, remember when we used to get mad when Bosa was getting more recognition than Allen? Dang, times really changed. Yeah, I mean, Allen was a guy we had high hopes for coming out of Kentucky, but super athletic, good player. He's kind of going down that Ngakoue path where he's good and he pops off every now and then and he flashes. He's just not worth top DN money, unfortunately. Elliot says Zach Wilson is terrible. I can't believe Jets fans actually said he was better than Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. The Jets game is going to be insane, says Base Mover. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's going to be good. Listen, I'm pretty excited. I mean, watching the game, the Jags have not been playing good early. I really want to see them play better early in the game. The first quarters, first halves, they're not playing great. Luckily, we kind of flipped it around in the second quarter of this game. Dewey's interception was huge part of that for sure. The forced fumble by Shaq Quarterman was a huge part of that as well. I mean, without those two plays, those two turnovers, I mean, Tennessee's offense was rolling, They come out in the second half and, they played well. They put the game away in the fourth quarter. They played good in the third. I mean, it's just an overall decent game. But Titans looked good there for a second. I hope I see J-Rob in that game against us. Yeah, I mean, he's not even getting carries, man. It's sad. We need him for those carries for those compensated draft picks as well. Israel Otero in the comments says, Josh Allen belongs on a milk carton. Yeah. Shane Watson, obviously you haven't seen Jets fans' most delusional fan base in the league. Yeah, I mean, I would have said that about the Bills until recently. They've been good. Cowboys fans are pretty delusional, for sure. Sorry, this game is distracting me. Chris Mason, pretend first half is second half. Oh, I like that strategy. That's a very good strategy. Very good. Hey guys, we're playing in the second half, not in the first half. And I like Peterson's play calling, so I mean, I think it'll be good. Elliot says the amount of disrespect for J-Rob is unbelievable. He is better than people think. I mean, that's one thing I was just watching. Travis Etienne did not look the same this week. I mean, he looked like a James Robinson type back. He just would get the ball. He would be patient and hit the hole. He didn't have that explosive burst he had at the beginning of the season. Now, obviously, injuries will do that to a man. But he did not look the same. And like I said, the Titans are really good against the run. But Etienne, I don't know. I don't know if he's fully healthy. And is Hasty and Connor going to be able to? That's the problem. If the Cowboys come out and play great coverage and they're getting pressure and they're flying upfield with their D linemen and Parsons is flying upfield and we have to be able to like run the draw or the screens. Like, do we have the backs for that? Etienne did not look like himself last week. He didn't. C. Breacher says Tyson Campbell should get more national media love. It's hard for Jags players. And Tyson Campbell's a quiet, reserved guy, man. He's conservative. He doesn't talk a lot. He just lets his play talk for him, which I respect. He's the antithesis of Jalen Ramsey. We use big words on this show. If this is your first time watching the show, we use big words. We do. It's not to make anybody feel dumb. It's, we're a higher intellectual group than most football fans. So if you can't handle it, there's a lot of channels out there that maybe, I don't know, point you in the right direction. Is antithesis too big of a word? Do I need to scale that back a little bit? The Cowboys struggle at stopping the run, says Jags Fans 2001. Yeah, they do. I'm trying to think. I haven't watched a bunch of Cowboys games. Obviously the ones that are on prime time, but I don't go out of my way to watch them. My buddy's a Cowboys fan, so he's kind of annoying, so I don't know. Cash Shoot says, hey, do you think people are hating on Trent Baalke? Or I'm sorry, he said, Cass says, why do you think people are still hating on Trent Baalke? Cisco, Campbell, Lloyd, Muma, Walker are good. Picks and Kirk, Ridley, and Jones are paying off free agents. So let me begin to just kind of break that down a tad. I personally believe in my heart, Cass, that guys like Cisco, Campbell, Walker Little, I think those guys are legitimately Urban Meyer guys. I think Urban Meyer had carte blanche pick for the draft, and I am hesitant. Now, I know Baalke was involved. I know he was working. He was involved. But I think Urban was making those decisions. Now, you want to bring Lloyd, Muma, Walker, Kirk, Jones to me? I listen to that. Yeah, I mean Walker, the Walker and Lloyd, it's still out there. The verdict's still out on those two guys. Kirk was a home run. Muma's looking like a home run. Ridley is, we don't know yet. So I just don't know if I'm willing to give Baalke credit quite yet for everything, because anyone would have drafted Trevor. Anyone would have gotten a receiver, and he ended up overpaying and just happened to work out with Kirk. I don't know. Ryan Tannehill targeted Tyson Campbell 3 times, and he had 3 pass breakups. He's our best corner for sure. I mean, I don't think we needed that to know. I think we knew that already, but yeah, you're right. But to be fair, without Treylon Burks, I don't necessarily think the Titans were that good on offense. I mean, did I chart their? Going into the game, their top receiver outside of Burks was Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook. So they were very injured. Titans were very, very injured going into this game. Jags fan says ETN will have a better game against Dallas. All right. Crabtree says, I don't even like being reminded of Urban Meyer. He was just a disgraceful coach on this team. You're right. I mean, listen, but we can talk about him in realistic terms. I think he drafted those guys. Fortner was Doug's pick, right? Fortner was Trent's pick. I don't know. Red Jet. DJM, ETN is going to have his best game against the Cowboys. I sure hope so. Cowboys fly around now. I know they're not great against the run, but they fly around. Ben Haney, Dan Schultz is going to tear our defense apart next week. Yeah, probably. Unless Dewey just comes downhill and just strokes him. We got to play physical. I mean, listen, I like the way that we came out against the Chiefs. I like the way that we came out against the Lions. Even though we lost both those games, I thought our defense came into play physically, and you have to play physical. If you're under-talented and you're outmatched as far as talent, which I don't think it's by much, but I think it's a bit, I think you have to come out and be physical and set the tone, and you have to keep it up all game. A lot of people can come out for a quarter or a half and hit you hard. But the whole game, I was worried about Derrick Henry, man. I thought Derrick Henry was going to wear us down. Luckily, we got into a situation where, they had to move the ball, so they, instead of handing it to him, they had to kind of drop it down to him on passes and things like that. But, Derrick Henry scared me. Alvin Jackson says, I like overpaying Kirk. It made the Tennessee Titans have to overpay for A.J. Brown, which they didn't, and got him out of the AFC South. That's some big brain thinking there, Alvin. I like that. That's some big brain transitive property thinking of Trent Baalke getting rid of A.J. Brown. I like that. Jags Nation. Urban Meyer was better off being an NFL scout because he can recruit and has an eye for talent. Can't even lie. That's well said, Jags Nation. Because I was trying to find a way to give him credit without giving him credit because he doesn't deserve much credit. But I think you hit the nail on the head right there. He does have a good eye for talent. Base mover. Dewey will destroy you. Yeah, I know. ETN doesn't really have good ball security. I hope that won't be a concern in the future, says Elliott. I mean, that's definitely a big issue going forward. I mean, he's becoming a guy who never fumbled. Now he's becoming a liability. You're right. Schultz, Lamb, Pollard going to be a nightmare. Yeah, we're going to have to just hold the ball and just run it and just not give them the ball. Force some turnovers, try to get a fumble here and there. Hopefully the refs bail us out with a couple of holdings and things like that. But we're going to have to control the ball, control the clock, and just try to have it at the end and run it out. Make field goals. I mean, really, I think that's what it's going to come down to. Or Trevor just comes out and balls and doesn't matter. Either way. I love seeing Trevor Lawrence wave bye-bye to the Titans fans. Me too. Listen, Trevor's getting a little bit of Duval in him now. This is from C. Breacher. He says, at the Ravens game, Paul Posluszny walked right past me. Literally, no one noticed him. I was kind of disappointed in the fan base. That is disappointing because Paul Posluszny stands out, man. I think I ran into that dude like at a Publix or something like that, like back in the day. He stands out. Stands out. I mean, that man's neck is thicker than my torso. Jags fan says Lamb is too inconsistent. Carthage says watching Trevor come into his own is such a surreal experience. Yeah, but he's becoming the guy that we all thought he would be, and the timeline doesn't really seem that odd to me. I mean, he seems like by the end of your second year, you should have arrived if you're elite, and I think he is. I think his timeline's fine. User says Urban got us a practice facility. Another thing, Urban, I swear on these shows, we talk about Urban Meyer so much. I think there's a part of me, and I can say this because we're almost 50 minutes into this show. I think there's a part of me that wants to defend Urban Meyer still, and I can't explain it, and it's not right, and it's not fair. But there's a part of me that wants, maybe it's just like the part of me that wants to just not have wasted a year of my life. So like I'm trying to pull these positives from that year. And User brings up a good point. The practice facility. Okay, here's another point. Didn't he like push Shad Khan into that training and rehab and sports medicine facility? The Jags have been visibly healthier than every other team in the league. Now, is that luck? Maybe. Is that Urban Meyer pushing for a sports performance and medical facility? Bringing in the best people. Injury prevention, injury rehab. My boy Trevor gets rolled up on and he has a hurt toe joint. Listen, I can defend anybody now. If I can defend Urban Meyer, I can defend anybody. Oh man. Paul Posluszny had great memories on the Jags. Of course, man. Of course. I mean, people were looking for Puz. They wanted what was his name to be Puz so bad. Joe Schobert. They wanted Joe Schobert to be Puz so bad. Jags Nation says the mismatch of the game is Ingram. Ingram dominated the middle of the field. It will force Parsons to play in space. So he's not going to be sneaking up on anybody this week. That's for sure. But that may not matter. He may be able just to play well. And geez, the Patriots are just getting run over right now. When you have a near-death experience and become a better person. That's what the Urban experience did. That's User spot on. User spot on. See, Breacher, when the Jags win the Super Bowl, where are they having the parade? At the Urban Meyer Performance Institute. That's where the parade's going to be. A year ago today, Trevor threw 4 picks at Tennessee. A year later, he puts up 4 touchdowns. Good point, legend. I'd honestly take Gus Bradley over Urban Meyer. If given the opportunity. At least Gus isn't an a-hole and won't kick the kicker's leg. I'm just saying. I like Gus too, man. Now, that's a guy that got enough time, though. Now, Gus Bradley was a great guy. Great man. I actually got the chance to coach his son. He was a quarterback, went on to play at Toledo. Great man. Humble, hardworking guy. Just didn't work out as a head coach. Doesn't work out for a lot of people. So, not going to give him crap. We probably gave him a little bit too much time. But you're right. Probably better than Urban. Nice stat, legend, says Cody. Campbell's probably going to shadow CeeDee Lamb. The other receivers aren't particularly threatening, says Red Jet. The problem is Parsons is good in space and on the edge. Let's see if Caldwell can win this chess match. Parade will be at least everyone's invited. Out east. Oh, at the beach? I wish it was at the beach. Let's just run it through Ponte Vedra A1A. That's where I would do it. Rip Lambo-matic. I think ETN needs to put on 10 to 15 pounds. I think he needs to return to his Clemson form. Speedy, but also has power. Ben Haney says, I feel like UCF Jaguars is the only person that has brought up the Jags have a great shot at the 7th wildcard spot. We are only 2 games down from the Jets and play them, own the tiebreaker over LA. I mean, like I said, I didn't mention this, but I think their chances of making the playoffs is like 19%, and their chances of winning the AFC South are 17%. So they have a 2% better chance of making the playoffs than they do winning the AFC South. So I think you're onto something there, Ben. DJ says, bro, I miss Lambeau's celebration. Yeah. Imagine having a parade at the Jacksonville Landing. Does the Landing even exist anymore? I don't think it does. I expect Tyson Campbell to allow 1 catch for CeeDee Lamb. He's a beast. I want to see. I mean, because the Cowboys have touted an offensive line for years. They have an experienced veteran quarterback. They have a good receiving core. They have a coach who's a lot like Doug Peterson and pretty creative at getting his guys open on the route concept. So I'm excited to see. I mean, this is going to be a tough test. You know, I actually feel better about this game than I did against the Lions. I felt terrible against going into the Lions game. I just felt like that was a bad matchup for us, and it showed. I think we're a better matchup against the Cowboys for sure. We have a better shot at the division than getting the 7th seed, says Legend. Chargers are the team they have to catch, not the Jets, says User. Yeah, if the Patriots lose tonight, that really helps our chances. I'm just hoping that, their Patriots kicker gets like 2 more field goals, and I'll be happy. If Tyson Campbell shuts down CeeDee, he should be a Pro Bowl lock. I think he already is, to be honest with you. He's a good player. I'm super excited for him. It's going to be a good game. And listen, we're going to be talking about this game all week. I mean, we have a show tomorrow night, and we have a show Friday night. And I might even be able to pop in another show before then. So that's how we do it around here. Listen, I appreciate you guys being here. I just want to be a Victory Monday show. I had a great time talking with you guys. Make sure that you guys are in the chat tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Same time, same place. And we're going to be breaking down some of the best clips from the Titans-Jags game. You're going to want to be there because you guys saw it live, and it's even better when you watch it in replay and kind of break down what went down. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Before you leave, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. The likes help the YouTube algorithm, so I would appreciate it. Also, go ahead and tell a friend about the show if they're Jags fans. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go on there, subscribe, give it a 5-star review. Let's just see if we can just become content creators out the wazoo. Last thing I'm going to plug is we're on Twitch. If you into that type of thing, Twitch, I am Jags_United. So we're everywhere. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. You guys have a great night.